Listen, I have a question. Who put out that horrible, terrible, bad rumor that y'all broke up? Who did that?
Your sister.
ToniBraxton? Right. I don't believe they got married. I think that's a lie. The reason why I think it's a lie because Stella not gonna do nothing without Slim being there or Slim knowing
Toni
something.
Braxton finally broke her silence about all those Birdman and Cash Money rumors. And trust me, it's got everyone talking. For years, whispers have circled that Birdman's whole Cash Money empire was built on dark energy and shady rituals. And now it seems like that same energy is catching up to him. And the person who pulled the curtain back? None other than Toni herself. Let's be real. People always thought Toni and Birdman were the oddest match in the game. What's a classy R&B legend like Toni doing with a man known for street ties and power play? But that so-called love story wasn't a romantic fairy tale. It was more like a dangerous dance. Behind the diamonds, private jets, and whispers of loyalty sat something way darker than love. Power that corrupted everything it touched. Toni didn't just walk away because she fell out of love. She ran because she saw what power looks like when it turns rotten. Their secret marriage wasn't just tabloid talk either. It was real. Paperwork was filed, witnesses existed, and the internet almost exploded when it all came out. But just 2 weeks later, everything fell apart. Toni jumped online, denied it all, and tried to erase every trace of Birdman from her world. That wasn't confusion. That was survival. And those stories about what's been happening inside Cash Money, they've been around for decades. Strange meetings, unexplained power moves, artists leaving with no explanation, it's all been there. Even rappers like Juvenile have been hinting about it for years, trying to warn everyone. He once said, "You know what was weird to me when I got to Cash Money? It was the weirdest thing." He knew something wasn't right. Toni Braxton came face to face with the dark side of Birdman's world, and she knew right then she couldn't win that kind of fight. She's battled lupus, undergone heart surgery, and survived near-death experiences, but this was a whole different kind of war. This wasn't about survival of the body anymore. It was survival of the soul. Toni saw what was happening behind the glamour, and she wanted out before that same darkness swallowed her too. So she moved fast.
Broke her silence on all.
Toni wiped her social media clean, cut ties with Birdman's circle, and threw herself back into what truly mattered: performing, staying grounded, and keeping her health in check. Meanwhile, Birdman's world started to crumble right in front of the cameras. Fans couldn't ignore what they were seeing. Him slumped in his chair mid-performance, eyes half shut, body barely moving. He looked drained, like the very empire he built was sucking the life out of him. People online even started calling him the Black Joe Biden, mocking how out of it he seemed on stage. Ever since that Hot Boy reunion tour, the internet's been flooded with clips showing Birdman under the bright lights, mumbling, losing focus, looking like he could barely stand. The crowd noticed too. Whispers rippled through arenas. Some said he was having seizures, others thought it looked like a relapse. Whatever it was, it didn't look good. And those videos spread across social media faster than wildfire. Seeing the man once known as Stunner looking like his battery had finally died, it hit different. But Birdman's crew was quick to shut the rumors down. BG hopped on camera, laughing it off, saying, "Man, Birdman wasn't high. He was just trying to read the teleprompter." He brushed it off like it was nothing, saying, "That boy all business." And that's the line everyone close to Birdman keeps repeating. No relapse, no health scare, just exhaustion and bad lighting. Maybe they're right, or maybe they're protecting something darker. Because it's hard to forget the image of Birdman swaying under the spotlight while the crowd keeps cheering, the music blaring like nothing's wrong. But when you think about how many people tied to that Cash Money empire have crashed and burned, it starts to feel like a curse. Artists who lost their voices, stars who disappeared, and legacies that just faded away. Birdman's name has been tangled up with the word ritual for years, and not for nothing. But let's get one thing straight. When people whisper about Cash Money rituals, they're not talking about candles, pentagrams, or hooded ceremonies. Nah, the real rituals inside that empire were built on power, loyalty, and total control. From the outside, Cash Money looked like just another record label. But behind those flashy chains and million-dollar cars, it moved like a full-blown secret society. Every artist who joined had to prove themselves, not just with talent.
It was weird to me when I got the Cash Money. It was the weirdest thing. I knew they had all these artists on the label.
Right.
So I get to the label, and then all of a sudden, He let all the artists go, all the other artists go.
But obedience, getting that Cash Money logo on your chain wasn't a gift, it was a test. Look closely. The kisses on the lips, the daddy nicknames, the matching tattoos, that wasn't random behavior or playful stunts for the cameras. Those were pledges, silent oaths of loyalty. Once you were in, you didn't just sign a contract, you gave up your independence. Every day became part of the performance, and Birdman was the director of the entire show. He made power look like generosity. The car lineups, the money-counting flexes, the diamond chains being tossed around, it was all theater. But every single gift came with an invisible price tag that said, "Remember who owns you." Birdman's empire ran on fear, respect, and submission, and everyone had to play their role. Keeping quiet was part of the ritual too. Anyone who pushed back just disappeared into silence. Take UNLV or Kilo G. They both tried to speak up, and suddenly they were gone from the picture. Some insiders even whispered that Kilo's death wasn't random at all, that maybe he paid the price for crossing the wrong people. It wasn't until Lil Wayne stood up to Birdman that the cracks in the so-called family started to show. The act stopped feeling like loyalty and started looking like control, cold, manipulative control. Online, people like to dramatize it, talking about Cash Money like it's tied to dark occult practices, but the truth is even colder. Birdman didn't need any supernatural tricks. His rituals were psychological. He broke artists down, stripped them of freedom, and rebuilt them in his image. The sacrifices weren't animals, they were people's independence, freedom, and identity. Birdman repeated the same cycle for years until manipulation became religion inside that empire. Everyone bowed down because they believed they had to. And that's the twisted world Toni Braxton walked into. She saw it for what it was. The fear, the tension, the way the room froze the moment Birdman stepped in. That's when she realized she wasn't just standing next to a man, she was standing inside his system. For Toni, it never felt like love. It felt like a warning. Being around Birdman was like standing next to a storm you knew was about to hit. Worship was the rule in his world, and Toni Braxton was never the type to bow down to anyone. She had fought too many real battles, lupus, financial struggles, heartbreak, to let someone else start controlling her peace. So she broke the cycle the only way she could, by walking away before that empire swallowed her whole. And the moment she did, Birdman's entire aura started falling apart piece by piece. That short-lived marriage between Toni and Birdman became the first domino in what many call the beginning of his downfall. Sure, they went public back in 2016, but insiders say the two secretly tied the knot much later, sometime last year, trying to keep it quiet. But that honeymoon didn't last even a week. Just 2 days after the ceremony, Toni filed for divorce, calling it an irretrievably broken union. That's not a breakup, that's a warning shot. She later pulled back the divorce petition in January 2025, but the silence that followed spoke louder than any statement. By mid-2025, their social media purge said it all. Posts deleted, follows gone, photos wiped. The love story had turned into digital dust. Then came the explosion. Birdman jumped online and went off. He started throwing wild accusations at Toni, claiming she was chasing money, calling her a gold digger, and even alleging that she pawned her engagement ring while trying to snatch a $160 million payout. Once those claims hit gossip blogs and live stream panels, it was chaos. Fans split in half. Team Toni versus Team Birdman. Every reaction video, every podcast, every timeline was on fire. Outside the hip-hop world, Birdman's reputation took a serious hit. R&B and pop media started labeling him manipulative, controlling, and vindictive. But inside the trap and southern rap circles, his never-back-down attitude only made him look more like the ultimate boss. That's the twisted part. What ruined him in one scene built him up in another. Financially, Birdman managed to stay afloat since the divorce filings were eventually dismissed, but the public perception damage was done. Toni, on the other hand, had sympathy on her side at first. Fans felt like she was finally freeing herself from a toxic space. But when news of that $160 million claim and the missing $5 million ring came out, people started digging into her old bankruptcies. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Some folks started questioning her motives, and that slowed down a few of her brand and sponsorship deals. Still, the drama gave her an unexpected win. Her classic songs started charting again on streaming platforms. Her name was back in headlines, and her documentary projects about women's financial independence gained major traction. When that messy feud between Toni and Birdman hit the internet, it didn't just stay between them. It rocked the entire Cash Money circle. Mid-tier artists and producers, especially those connected to Lil Wayne's Young Money camp, started freezing up on collaborations with anyone signed under Birdman. Nobody wanted to get caught in the middle of that chaos. Deals went quiet, projects got shelved, and even loyal insiders started moving in silence, waiting to see which way the power would swing. But Birdman, being the hustler he is, flipped the drama into promo. He took all that gossip, the memes, and the public outrage, and turned it into fuel for his rich gang releases. The man turned scandal into streams. He started dropping flashy clips, teasing collabs, and using every headline like it was part of his marketing strategy. But when the smoke finally cleared, the cost of all that chaos was obvious. Birdman still had control of Cash Money, but his cultural goodwill was gone. The respect wasn't there anymore, no matter how many chains or Bentleys he flashed. Toni, on the other hand, walked away with her dignity intact and a wave of public empathy. Sure, some people still questioned her motives, wondering if it was heartbreak or strategy, but the world saw her as a survivor who broke free from a machine built on control. That's when everyone realized the old Cash Money alliance finished. That so-called family bond was cracked beyond repair. And now, the spotlight's turning towards something even deeper. The money rituals that fueled the empire in the first place. Cash Money did change the game, no doubt about that. It shaped the entire sound of Southern hip-hop and built a dynasty of anthems that defined a whole generation. But behind those chart toppers, exotic cars, and designer fits, the business side was way darker than the glossy image ever showed. What looked like power moves from the outside was, for many artists, a long grind of manipulation, debts, and broken promises. Behind the private jets and mansion photo shoots was a system built to keep artists owing, not owning. It was a setup that kept Birdman in control while everyone else scrambled for scraps. For decades, artists whispered the same story. Advances that never fully arrived, contracts full of loopholes, and recoupable expenses that made sure nobody ever saw their real money. Everything was wrapped in fancy words like business structure. But it all came down to one thing: control. Tyga's $10 million lawsuit blew the doors wide open. He revealed that even when he was a teenager, his Cash Money contract had a lawyer representing both him and the label. A massive conflict of interest. That meant every deal, every clause, and every payout was already tilted toward Birdman's side. Tyga said he was owed millions from unpaid royalties. And the moment he pushed back, the doors slammed shut. And then came Lil Wayne, the biggest name to ever come out of that camp. His 2017 lawsuit went deep. Wayne accused Cash Money and Universal of playing dirty behind his back, moving money, hiding publishing profits, and delaying his album releases just to cut his earnings down. The feud dragged for years until Wayne finally settled, but word on the street was that he walked away with less than what he truly earned. For someone who helped build that empire, that was the ultimate betrayal. Birdman ran his label like an empire, using luxury as a leash. Just like Suge Knight ruled the West with fear, Birdman controlled the East and South with flash. Cash, cars, chains, and watches. He'd hand out Bentleys and iced out jewelry as symbolic payments, but those gifts came with strings attached. Once you accepted, you were bound to Cash Money long after your hit stopped charting. Even the paperwork had ritual energy. The 1998 Cash Money deal with Universal became legendary. An 80-20 profit split in favor of the label. That meant 80% went straight to Cash Money, while Universal took the rest, leaving artists with almost nothing once the expenses were deducted. Birdman used that same playbook on everyone under him. Wendy Day was one of the first to help negotiate Cash Money's breakout deal, but she never saw the money she was promised. That became the warning sign for everyone who came after her. Birdman's infamous phrase, "Sue me when I have to pay you, you'll get paid," turned into an inside joke across the industry. But the truth behind it wasn't funny at all. It became a code for how Cash Money really operated. Delay, deny, and dominate. When Universal stepped in, things got even murkier. To keep Cash Money afloat, Universal quietly absorbed the label's debts, but not out of kindness. In exchange, they tightened their grip on distribution and ownership, converting what should have been artist profits into corporate leverage. That's when insiders started whispering about ghost royalties. Money that existed on paper but never reached the people who actually earned it. Millions of dollars floating in limbo, rerouted to higher tiers while artists kept chasing promises that never landed in their accounts. If you played loyal, Birdman rewarded you. Flashy Lambos, diamond chains, private jets, and front row seats at every major event. But if you dared to question the system, your checks came late, your albums got shelved, and suddenly no one wanted to answer your calls. Silence was the price of survival. The public saw the helicopters, the mansion photo shoots, and that wild Stunner Island lifestyle. But they didn't see how much fear and pressure were holding that empire together. By 2025, insiders weren't even calling Cash Money a label anymore. They called it a medieval kingdom. Birdman and his brother Slim ruled from the top, with younger signees like Jassis and others pledging lifelong loyalty just to stay in the circle. It wasn't magic and it wasn't mystery, but it was habit. A system crafted over decades to weaponize money and control loyalty, making sure no one ever rose high enough to challenge the throne. But cracks were forming, and the rebellion was already underway. Some of the biggest names started moving quietly behind Birdman's back. Deals got renegotiated in secret, collaborations disappeared overnight, and subtle shots popped up in lyrics and interviews. The tension in the Cash Money camp was boiling in 2025. You could feel it in the air. Some artists flexed harder to hide their frustration, others stayed silent and calculated, but everyone had their own agenda. And then came Lil Wayne. His long-standing feud with Birdman had been simmering for years, but this time, he wasn't holding back. During the Hot Boys reunion tour, Wayne and the rest of the crew literally walked off stage mid-speech while Birdman was hyping the crowd, and the crowd went crazy. The clip exploded online within hours, with fans dissecting every frame. Weeks before that, at Lil Louisiana Fest 2025, Wayne had already sent a message loud and clear. He cut Birdman off mid-intro, while Birdman was trying to give a shout-out to his late mother, Miss Gladys, ChatGPT said. You could see it in the body language. Forced smiles, no eye contact, separate green rooms, and carefully timed entrances to avoid overlap. What was once a family now looked like a business partnership hanging by a thread. Birdman tried to mask it all with grandeur. Helicopters landing backstage, diamond-studded microphones, fireworks during intros. But even the flash couldn't hide the fractures. Wayne barely acknowledged Birdman on stage. When he did, it was through half-hearted nods or ironic jokes that the crowd picked up instantly. Juvenile kept things professional but distant, only engaging when the cameras were on. Meanwhile, Birdman acted like everything was smooth, tossing money into the crowd and shouting "Rich Gang for Life" between songs. But fans knew the energy was off. Backstage footage from one tour stop in Atlanta leaked showing a shouting match between Birdman's management and Wayne's team over unpaid bonuses and last-minute set changes. The clip racked up millions of views within hours, reigniting the Pay Wayne trend online. Other artists quietly started backing out of Cash Money showcases, citing creative differences or timing issues, code words everyone recognized by now. And deep down, even Birdman seemed to know the storm he built wasn't about music anymore. It was about survival. Because if Wayne, Drake, and Nicki truly cut him out for good, Cash Money wouldn't just lose its crown, it would lose its soul. And that's the wild truth behind the chaos brewing inside Cash Money Records in 2025, where loyalty, legacy, and power are all colliding in real time. What do you think? Is this the end of Birdman's empire or just another chapter in his survival story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because we've got even more deep dives into hip-hop's biggest secrets coming your way. Until next time, stay tuned, stay curious, and keep it real.